this computer. All right. So, okay, I wanted to share about capacity because last week I was just thinking about, um, I was listening to a Brittany Howard podcast, and I was thinking about all the things that she's a very high achiever, right? And so I was thinking about people in my life, kind of categorizing people in my life that I knew. Like some people are really like I would say high achievers in general, and then other people are very not as high achievers. And it's not that this is a good or a bad. I'm not saying either about anything. You can even see it in children, in like your children. You have some children that are just like go, 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 go. They never get tired of things. They're just like, their feet hit the floor and they're gone. And then you have other children, or that are not that way. They have to have life at a slower pace and all the things like that. So I was thinking about that in regards to this business and how that a lot of times um, we can fall into that's one of the reasons the comparison trap is so dangerous. It's dangerous for so many reasons, but that's one of them is because we may not be built like Susie over here, who her feet hit the floor and she goes at full capacity all day long, and she really doesn't seem to struggle with it or have a lot of anxiety about it. She just kind of goes with the flow, and then she can get she can work circles around a lot of people. That we can't compare ourselves to her if we don't have that same personality or drive or whatever. So, but the trick is although we don't want to compare ourselves to her, but the trick is to compare ourselves to ourself, because the goal is to increase our capacity no matter what kind of personality that we have, no matter what how we work. And I hope this is kind of making sense. Maybe in my brain it makes sense and I'm going to do poorly getting it out, but hopefully not. Okay, so just some different notes. I wrote down some notes last night about capacity. Everyone has different capacities. Some people are more driven than others. They can handle things differently. That's why the comparison trap is so bad. Basically, you're comparing apples to apples. I mean, apples to oranges, right? It's just not the same. And that never works. But no matter what your personality is, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter your past, your present, all those things, you can increase your current capacity, and you should be comparing yourself to who you were yesterday, 6 months ago, or a year ago. Are you able to do more, handle more, grow? Okay, so some things that hold us back in like our capacity, and I wanted to, like, because I keep saying capacity, and some people are like, I don't even know. Basically, the capacity, there's a concept called the capacity challenge. But if you grow in your awareness, develop your abilities, and make the right choices, you reach your capacity. Okay. So awareness plus ability plus choices equals capacity. And so um that's kind of what we're after here. So, okay, so some things that hold us back from that. First of all, it's the same thing in so many things. It's our thoughts and our limiting beliefs about ourselves. Those things hold us back. Because how often do we say, oh my goodness, I want to grow by 100 points this month. And the first thing that comes to your mind is that's never going to happen. Sharon quit last month. Oh my goodness, Tammy just texted me and she didn't like her pink drink. She's going to turn her sub off. Like, I'm never going to be able to grow, right? Like, you have all these negative thoughts and you're sabotaging yourself before you even get anywhere at all. And so we have those limiting beliefs and those negative thoughts. Also, another thing that holds us back from our capacity is fear of what other people will think, right? One of the things that I love about Brittany Howard is her confidence, right? And her passion for when she shares, and Christina Williams, I love her boldness when she gets on Facebook with her Plexus business posts. I mean, she inspires me. I'm like, I want to go join your team. You're so confident, right? She's like, this is the best thing ever. You're going to be successful. You get with me, you're going to do it. And so a lot of times we can be fearful. Oh my goodness, if I say something like that, sister so and so over at the church might think this about me, or, my mom might think this about me, or whatever. And so we are fearful of what other people will think, right? Another thing that holds us back from reaching our capacity is just plain old laziness. I mean, their Bible has so much to say about being slothful and being lazy. And so that can really be a hindrance in our life. Our brain is wired to protect us and keep us comfortable. It's there to protect us and keep us comfortable. And so oftentimes, if we're not careful and if we're not being aware of our thoughts, we can just be plain old lazy, right? Um, and another thing that holds us back from reaching our capacity is just complacency, right? We're just complacent. Now, there's a difference in being complacent and being content. I can be content in my circumstances while I am striving for higher things, right? I can be content where I'm at. I can be satisfied, but still striving for more. So there's a difference in being complacent and being content. So we don't want to confuse the two. So what does it cost us? What does it cost us if we stay held back in our capacity? Well, we're not living our life to the fullest potential. We're just not. And I don't know about you, but the last few months have had me really, in my life, I've just been looking at, I have my oldest son played his last basketball game on Saturday that he's ever going to play for high school. Um, my my baby is about to be 10, double digits next week. So I've been doing a lot of reflecting on how quickly these seasons go. These lives change so quickly in such a rapid pace. And life in general is flying by, right? And I don't want to look back over my life and say, you know what, I could have done more. I could have reached I haven't reached my potential. And again, I'm not saying that you're not, no, hear my heart in this. It's not that you're not content with where you are. It's not that you're not loving these seasons and you're enjoying them to the fullest, but it's also that I'm not wasting them either. That I am reaching for the highest that I can be and being the best that I can be. Okay, so it costs you living life to your fullest potential. It costs you the same struggles day in and day out, because a lot of times if we're not reaching for something else or something higher and pushing for our raising our potential and raising our lid, we're just staying kind of stuck in the same rut and the routine and the frustrations. So we live a lot of the same day in and day out. And even though we don't like it, we're not happy with it, it's just hard. It causes us frustration. It causes us I just said that one of the things that can hold us back for is complacency, but it can also keep us like in a complacent state, right? And then we still have those negative thoughts. You still have the negative thoughts if you're trying to reach your potential or you're not trying to reach your potential. I mean, I don't know about you, but that's for sure true for me. I still have the negative thoughts of, well, you had the opportunity to do this and you didn't. So there you go. Even though when the opportunity was there, I had the negative thoughts of holding me back. And then later, when I looked back on the opportunity, it was like, well, you had the chance, you loser. So I had the negative thoughts either way. Do you know what I'm saying? So, how much better and more fulfilled would our life be if we took the negative thoughts during the opportunity and pushed those aside and walked ahead, right? Increase our capacity. So, okay, so how, let's see, I want to look at some notes that I have from a book. It's actually one of John Maxwell's 15 Laws of Growth. It's such a good book. One of the first ones I read by him. And it's all about reaching the reasons you need personal growth and how to reach like more higher levels of personal growth. So, learning more information isn't enough. I love this because I love to read books. I love to listen to podcasts, motivating, but it doesn't do me a hill of beans good if I don't change how I think and change my actions. Like I can have all these thoughts, all this take, but if I'm not actually putting it into action, it really doesn't mean that much, right? You must change how you think and you must change your actions. So, this is so interesting. Most experts believe that people only use about 10% of their true potential. Y'all, that's like having 100-acre field or farmland and you only use, what is 10%? I don't know. Oh my gosh. So you only have 10 acres of that 100 acres that you're using. Like that's crazy, but that's how we live our life, so much of our life. Only 10% of our true potential do most people actually use. Okay, so how do we increase our thinking capacity? Well, we stop thinking more work and we start thinking what works. Because so often people say you have to reach your capacity, like to reach your capacity. Most people are going to answer that. Like if I say, how do you do that? Most people are going to say, well, you have to work more. And that's not necessarily true because more of the same usually results in more of the same, right? And what we actually want is better than what we have. So, John Maxwell talks about how that, in this early career, people would come to him and they would say, I want to be more successful. And his answer was, you just got to work harder. That was his answer. And then he said, when I started traveling to underdeveloped countries where people worked so incredibly hard, but they saw very little return, I understood that work isn't always the answer. Harder work, more work isn't always the answer, right? So the problem was that he valued effort over effectiveness. Okay. And so he said, I was doing a lot of things instead of doing the right things. So we got to figure out what the right things are to do. And this can apply. I'm kind of saying broad with this because I feel like so often when our own lives are in kind of chaos, it's hard for us to hone in and channel down on our plexus business, right? So I feel like, yes, we can increase our capacity in our plexus business, but if we really want to increase our impact, we want to increase the capacity in our own lives and our everyday life, right? Excuse me. And that will bleed over into our plexus business. So figure out what works. Okay, to do that, ask yourself these 3 questions. What am I required to do? Number 1. Number 2, what gives the greatest return? And number 3, what gives me the greatest reward? These questions are going to help you focus your attention on what you must do, what you ought to do, and what you really want to do. Okay, so the first thing we want to increase our thinking capacity is we want to think, stop thinking more work and start thinking what works. Are there things in your business that you've done in the past that were really successful? Then do those things. It doesn't matter if that's what the people are doing. It doesn't matter if that's what, like, if it's been successful for you, do the thing, right? If the latest advice from the top gurus are saying the opposite of that, but it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Do the thing that works for you. Okay, stop thinking, can I, number 2, and start thinking, how can I? This was so good for me because can I is a question like, can I really grow by 100 points this month? That's filled with hesitation and doubt, right? You're already like, can I though? Okay. I mean, you can hear it in the way that you say it. Can I? But you're undermining your efforts before you even begin. Okay. But if you say, how can I? Your brain is actually going to start getting to work. Your brain is going to start thinking of the ways that you can do it. How can I assumes that there is a way and you just have to find it. So stop thinking, can I, and change that to how can I? Because how can I is filled with way more confidence, way more let's get it done. We're going to be successful, right? It's so different. Like just flipping that word. Okay. So, and he talks about okay, to ask this question, John Maxwell was challenged. Someone asked him, what would you attempt if you knew you couldn't fail? Wow. That, like, sit with that for a minute. In your life in general, what would you attempt if you knew you couldn't fail? In your plexus business, what would you attempt if you knew that you couldn't fail? And so Most of our limitations are based on not on our lack of ability, but our lack of belief because we don't believe that we can actually succeed. So most of our limitations are actually because of lack of our belief. And Sharon Wood, she was the first North American woman to climb Mount Everest. And she was saying, she said, I discovered it wasn't a matter of physical strength. Y'all, Mount Everest, think about it. She said it wasn't physical strength, but it was psychological strength. That's what it took. The conquest lay within my own mind to penetrate the barriers of self-imposed limitations. So I love that so much. And okay, I'm gonna read. This is so good. Okay, I know. I'm fired up. Okay, this book it's called U squared. I guess is what it's called. It's got U with a 2 in the corner, like a square, like you square a number. Okay, listen to this. This is a quote. Your skepticism, which you presume is based on rational thinking and an objective assessment of factual data about yourself, is rooted in mental junk. I was like, ooh. Your doubts are not the product of accurate thinking, but habitual thinking. Yeah, I was like, nailed it. Years ago, you accepted flawed conclusions as correct, began to live your life as if those warped ideas about your potential were true, and ceased the bold experiment in living that brought you many breakthrough behaviors as a child. Now it's time for you to find the faith you had in yourself before. And I just absolutely like loved that quote so much because you can change your thinking. You can believe in your potential. And we can use failure as a resource and a catalyst to propel us to the next level, right? Okay, so stop. Number 3. So we are thinking, increasing our thinking capacity. Number 1, we're stop thinking more work and thinking what works. Number 2, we're stop thinking can I, and we're starting to think how can I. And number 3, we stop thinking one door and we think many doors. So think in terms of options. And again, that's what I was saying like earlier. What is working? What are some options? What are the options that are available to you in your Plexus business? Start going through options and finding what works, because so often we want to look for like this one key to success and it's just not there. There's so many options in this business for sure. There's more than one way to do something successfully. The odds of arriving anywhere increase with creativity and adaptability. Failures and setbacks are great tools for learning. And I was thinking about, there for a while, a lot of teams, and they're still seeing super great success, but someone had the idea of, hey, let's do a messenger event, right? Like somebody kind of started that. And then that took off like wildfire. And then all of a sudden you have messenger events going around everywhere. But I'm saying before that, a couple of years ago, messenger events weren't even a thing, even though we've had messenger for a long time. I mean, I've been in this business 9 years and messenger events have just come about in the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. So, but there's all these other options. We had sip and seas in person. We had where you would mail out samples and you would get on a Zoom like this and you would all try the samples together, right? We had messenger events for events. We had Facebook events. We had Zoom events, like so many options. Okay. And so often we want to get stuck on this one single way in our business of doing things. So, okay, that, let me see if there's anything else. The greatest challenge you'll ever face is that of expanding your mind. If you can change your thinking, you can change your life. And so I just want to encourage you to increase, like to be thinking about increasing your capacity and be willing to be 1% better every day. Because if you've got 1% better every day, day after day, over the course of the year, you're 365% better, right? I mean, that's huge, right? Just a little bit at a time. And so often we get frustrated. I know for me, like, with our homeschool days, it can get crazy. And we have sports now, baseball, basketball ended, but so we had our final basketball game for the boys Saturday. The girls had their final game tonight. Well, guess what started this afternoon? Our middle school baseball. So we're just bleeding one. But baseball, I love baseball. but it's at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which means my day ends by like 1 or 1:30 every day. I got to get kids homeschooled, breakfast, lunch, all the things by 1:30, most like 2 or 3 days, 3 days out of the week. So I don't even know where I was going with that. It's easy to get frustrated. It's easy for me to want to take, this is what I've done in the past. I take, a thing, like a day, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this schedule work. Not, we're going to do this whole big thing. Like I want to do it this big chunk all at once, right? And so what I found though, maybe it works for you because your capacity is different, your personality is different. I don't know. But for me, like taking this big, huge chunk is just too much for me at one time. So what I've learned is to be content and to try to chip away at schedules and routines and things like that a little bit at a time rather than taking the whole big bite of the elephant. It's like you eat the elephant one bite at a time, not like three mouthfuls, right? So I want you to be encouraged when you look at your Plexus business. What is it that you can do one bite at a time? A little bit better. And it usually, you guys, starts, it's literally so much right here. So, okay, that's all for tonight. I am going to dive into no limits, and you'll probably be hearing a lot more and seeing a lot more about this whole thing about capacity because I don't know. I just really like, I feel like I've come to a really, um, I've come to a good place to where, for a long time, I wanted to compare myself to other homeschool moms, other stay-at-home moms, other business moms. And I wanted to try to fit in this mold or this mold or this mold. And it's like, you just can't. Like, you're not built like her and you're not built like her. You're you. You're you. God made you you, and you just own it and embrace it with no guilt. Like, with no guilt. Like, maybe God's called her to do this way, to do this thing, and He's not called you there, and that is okay. Right? Sometimes we can could get completely torn up and bent out of the frame just because, especially I feel like in the Christian circles, just because our Christian life is in the things that we think are not exactly like this girl's or this person's Christian life in the way that she does it. And so we think, well, either she's wrong or I'm wrong. And it's not necessarily that at all, right? It's God's called us to different paths, and that's okay. But it's also what's not okay, what I have been guilty of is being stuck in the limbo of not really like owning it, owning this is where I am. This is what God's called me to, and walking with that in confidence and with purpose. And I don't know if that makes sense, but maybe it does. But like owning where God has you, owning what He's doing, and showing up with purpose and confidence in that. Because confidence is good. And like, stop. I felt like I was, in a sense, like the other day, it was really all really clear to me. I was, wrestling with some things, and the Lord's like, if you'll just look around, like look around. Your light bill is paid for by Plexus. Your car that you drive is paid for by Plexus. Groceries that you eat, and this I'm not saying this is your story, but this is where I was at. I was like, Lord, is this your will? I don't know, because it's so hard. I'm having to rebuild and da 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 da, and I don't really know. And it was like He gave me a little spanking, a little talking to, and He was just, I was just like, okay, yeah. And it's like, if you'll just accept where you are and own it and go with it and like walk forward in confidence, like that is what you need to do, and stop complaining and being so worried all the time. Like, I've put you here, now walk, go, do the things. So, and I'm leaving out a lot of like super personal things, but it's just so great because when we walk with, and like Jennifer said, like when we walk with where He's got us, like there's no better place and to be confident in that. So, okay. I know that was kind of a rambled mess, but does anybody have anything they want to say? Anything at all? Don't be afraid to unmute. Mm, the water's good. Okay, well, good. Well, be expecting to hear more on capacity. Okay, so next week, next Tuesday, we're going to have our leader retreat girls jump on a call. They've agreed to jump on a call, and we're going to hear from all the girls that went to Punta Cana. They're all flying back today. So I know Gretchen's going to share, and Crystal, I've asked Crystal to share, and I think Julie and Valerie are going to share. And I don't know if anybody else was there besides those four. I know we had several girls, and we had a lot of people earn it, but a lot of people were able to go. So, but I know those four are there. Julie, Valerie, Crystal, and Gretchen. Jennifer, do you know of anybody else? Jennifer Dunnigan from Julie's team? I don't either. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, so, but we're going to be hearing from them. And then the next week, y'all, we're already going to be into March. And oh my word, March, let me just tell you, get your ducks in a row because March is going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Okay, first of all, March is usually amazing anyway. It's kind of where we come out of our winter slump. We're kind of, yeah. Jennifer, you want to say something? I saw you unmute.
Yeah, I was just going to say, to be prepared, March, everybody's coming out of their winter slump, just like you said. Spring is in the air, and everybody wants to feel good all of the sudden.
Yeah.
And your business, everything that you've been doing for the past 30, 60, 90 days, and even in my case, 5 years, will come to fruition. It is
Mm-hmm.
crazy. It is just crazy how that works. So
Mm-hmm.
be posting, be sharing, be messaging, because I'm telling you, all of a sudden, it never fails. Literally, this is my 7th year doing this, and March is always a big growth period.
Yeah, it is. And Plexus is doing, yeah, something is coming. I think I already shared that. You may have seen the Instagram teasers, but there's something coming in March, and holy smolies, it's big. I think it's going to be huge. Like I really do. So add that to the normal crazy awesomeness that we have. I really think March is going to be insane. And then Gene said on that Instagram clip that I saw, he said something in March, and then he said 60 days later, and then convention. So I'm thinking, okay, March, April, May, and then June again. I don't know, like all these product releases. I don't even know. But I have heard several rumors of some really super awesome, incredible products coming out in the next year. So I'm excited for all that 2024 has in store. So all that to say, get your thought process, like work on your mind. I literally today, I was walking out and I had a long list of things to do, and my time messed up on my what time I had to be somewhere in my mind, and I lost like an hour of my time to get stuff done, and I was immediately frustrated, and I started going negative, and I stopped myself. I was like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. I was like, and I literally said out loud, I was like, I'm not gonna do it. No, it's fine, it'll be okay. And I refused, and I've been trying so hard to work on that more. When those negative thoughts start coming, just literally stopping them dead in their tracks. And in some cases, I refuse to even think about them at all. Like I'll make my mind think about something totally different, or start singing a song, or like something to get to like completely not think the negative thought, because I want to increase my capacity. I want to live a life full to my fullest potential. And I know that we already know this. Most of our thoughts are negative. The vast, vast majority of our thoughts are negative. The vast majority of our thoughts are on autopilot. They come in autopilot. And we already know from a biblical perspective, like Satan is for sure going to try to, and the Bible said, that's why the Bible says, bring your thoughts captive, every thought captive, right? And so I'm really determined to work on my thought process. So, all that, we're going to work on our thought process, and we're going to have an amazing next few months, an amazing year. So, I'm excited. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you. And we will see you next week. All right. Bye, guys.